there's certain times where the media paints law enforcement in a negative light. So if you take a situation that happened in Ferguson, Missouri, or something that happened in Minnesota, it's hard. How can you point at one of these incidents and say that that's every single cop in America? I see that as a negative light, right, encompassing everybody, and it's not fair. Men and women wake up every morning and they go to work and they try to do the best that they possibly can and provide positive services to their communities. So for the mainstream media to paint law enforcement negatively would be, it's unfair.
Welcome to the After School Podcast, where we read our lyrics, speak our truths, and tell our thoughts. So, today we interview Detective Chris, who works at the Union County's Prosecutor's Office. And we go over his origin on how he became the person we know today.
Watch out, the clock may tick and your life's over. Choosing to be happy takes weight off your shoulder.
Today we're here with a police officer from the Union County
Prosecutor's office.
Yep.
Yep.
His name is Chris
Jackens.
Jackens. Jackens?
Yep, Jackens.
Okay. So, how is it working for the Union County say it again? Prosecutor's office. How is it working for the Union County Prosecutor's office?
It's good. It's rewarding. It's fun. And it's every day is like a new experience.
So, do you enjoy the working surroundings that you're around at the Union County Prosecutor's Office?
Yeah. The work environment is great. My colleagues are awesome. Everyone brings something valuable to the table. If you get stuck on something, you're always able to turn to someone and bounce ideas off of and get positive feedback. So it's good.
Did you see yourself back in high school, like when you came to Jeff? Did you see yourself becoming a police officer?
Yeah, I wanted to become a police officer even before high school.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a lifelong dream for me.
Wait, back then, was it like you could pick different high schools, or you just had to come to Jeff? Because we can pick.
God. So 20-something years ago.
Oh.
I think we were placed. I don't think we had a choice. Like you guys have the Frank Ciccarelli building right next door, the Hamilton Academy and stuff like that. We didn't have that. It was pretty much just Jeff, Aboff, Edison, Halsey, Dwyer. So it wasn't like you could choose. I think it was more so of being placed.
Oh, back then was it because I remember people say back then it was dangerous.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people getting killed, a lot of crime.
Yeah, I mean, so growing up in the public school system in Elizabeth, it opens your eyes to a lot of different things. At high school, every single day, it didn't matter the weather or the time of the school year, there were probably 10, 20 cops right outside during dismissal for after-school fights and stuff like that. So when I had to walk to Williamsfield for either football practice or baseball practice, it was like I had to hurry up and move so I didn't get caught up in it.
Yeah. I think back in my sophomore year, stuff like that, there was police that would go under the bridge right next to Dwyer.
Yeah.
I remember I used to walk there home because me and my mom moved.
Okay.
But a lot of police used to stay there.
Yeah.
Because there were fights going on every time.
Every day. There were fights literally every single day.
You know about that?
Every single day after school, there were fights every single day.
Oh.
And I just, like I said, going from, dismissal and having to hurry up to get to Williamsfield, it was just hurry up and move. This way you didn't get caught up into whatever was happening because there were guys coming from, the main complex down the bridge or vice versa, guys from Jeff going up that way, going down Elizabeth Avenue towards the port or down Jefferson towards Magnolia. There was just groups of people all over the place.
Chaotic.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. So explain, what is your job at the Union County's prosecutor's office?
Yeah, so I'm a detective there. So I don't do like patrol work anymore. It's more of investigative side of things in preparation for criminal or judicial proceedings. So people having to go to court. So it's just a various caseload and all different types of things that encompass it.
Have you ever had to be in like a case in court? Like,
Have I?
yeah, like testify for like a specific thing in court.
Yeah.
What's one of the weirdest cases you've had?
I can't even. There's so many. So I've been a police officer for 10 years.
Well, like a crazy case like you can talk about.
So before I worked at the prosecutor's office, I worked in Westfield.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows that Netflix show called The Watcher.
The Watcher.
Have you ever heard of it? The Watcher?
Nah.
Never. All right, so it's like a worldwide. It was like #1 on Netflix for a while.
Damn, I'm trying to think. I've watched every show on Netflix.
So this story actually took place in Westfield, where a family moved into a house, and they started getting suspicious letters in the mail, and it was calling the new homeowners by name, the children by name. They were saying that they watched the house and that there's blood on the walls, like all these weird things that were happening. And it was so popular they made a Netflix show out of it.
Oh, wait, you were worked on that case a bit?
So I was involved in it. I didn't work the case, but I had a little role in it.
That's kind of cool.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Back when you were a regular police officer and patrolling, how did you feel about thinking when you leave the house that could be your last time hugging your wife or talking to your kids, if you have kids?
Yep, I do.
Or talking to your kids.
Yep.
How did you feel about that?
It's something that I knew is a possibility going into this career field. So mentally, I was prepared for it, and I was okay with it. Not necessarily meaning that I wanted for it to happen, but if something were to happen, I accepted those risks. It's not very often that you hear someone in a career field that says that every day that they wake up, they potentially drive to their death going to work, right? So it's kind of goes along to what you're saying, where there's a lot of risk that's involved in that in law enforcement profession.
Yeah.
So it's a weird feeling, but I accept the risk.
Understandable. So when you said back when you were in high school you always wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
So is there anything that like drove you to like wanting to be a cop, or nothing like wanted you to you didn't want to do something else?
Yeah, so there were a couple contributing factors. One was, while I was growing up, I had an uncle who was a police officer in Elizabeth. So I was young. I was maybe 8-10 years old, and I always saw him in his uniform, and he looked sharp, very presentable, professional, and being so young and impressionable, I pointed to and I said, that's what I want to do when I grow up. Later on in life, someone broke into our house, and they stole a lot of things, not necessarily valuable things like monetary value, but more of a sentimental value. And that left me with a sense of helplessness, right? Because I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So that also drove me to become a police officer.
Wait, did they do that like while you guys were like late in the night? They came in, or like when you guys were there?
It was midday.
Midday.
Yeah.
Oh.
So matter of fact, I was at the main complex. I was in 8th grade. So I was at the main at Dunn Sports Center for wrestling practice.
You did wrestling too?
Middle school, I wrestled. It was just something to fill in the seasons.
Okay.
But, like after practice, I would get picked up, and it was a while before someone to come pick me up. So I was like, what the heck, what's going on? So just having that feeling, I didn't want other people to have to go through that same feeling. So if I was able to do something to prevent that from happening, then to me it would be worthwhile.
You want to be like someone's hero. Is that
I
like
mean,
a
I
strong
guess.
word?
I mean, I don't know if I would consider that as a hero, but maybe as a protector,
Okay. Like Batman.
like Batman.
Okay.
I'll go with Batman. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So you know how the media portrayed. Okay, how do you think the media portrays police? And do you think they portray them how do you think they should be portrayed, police officers?
I mean, that's a really good question,
Yeah.
right? So it's an in-depth response where there's certain times where the media paints law enforcement in a negative light. But that when I say that, I mean by like the whole, right? Law enforcement as a whole. So if you take a situation that happened in Ferguson, Missouri, or something that happened in Minnesota, it's hard. How can you point at one of these incidents and say that that's every single cop in America,
True,
right? So there's times where I see that as a negative light, right, encompassing everybody,
Yeah.
and it's not fair, right?
It's not fair. It's not.
People, men and women wake up every morning and they go to work and they try to do the best that they possibly can and provide positive services to their communities. So for the mainstream media to paint law enforcement negatively would be it's unfair.
So you believe there should be like more appreciation for cops?
When it's warranted.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying that every single cop that you see deserves a pat on the back, right? Because
Yeah.
there are police officers who do things that they shouldn't be doing, and it's a matter of time before those things catch up to them. So when a police officer does well, they deserve to be recognized, and vice versa. If an officer does something that's criminal, then they need to be pointed out for it.
Okay, back when you were on the streets as a police officer and you were dealing with like gun cases, was that like a heavy thing in the area you were in? Like, what was a heavy thing that was in your area?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You
No, I get your question.
Okay.
So being a police officer in Westfield, there wasn't a lot of crime in relation to cities like Elizabeth or Newark or Patterson, Trenton, Camden.
Ooh.
It's not like that at all. The majority of the crime is, in my opinion, preventable crimes. So property crimes, motor vehicle thefts or burglaries, residential thefts or burglaries. There's domestic violence issues. So not necessarily a lot of guns. We've had our share over the years.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you have to be mindful of, So even though that those crimes aren't very relevant, not relevant, but they're not as often or as much, the safety aspect still has to be in your mind.
Okay. Do you enjoy doing your job as as a detective?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, most certainly.
What do you enjoy about it?
Everything. I mean, it's like I said, it's a self-rewarding job when your team accomplishes a goal, which is for an indictment, for that to go to trial and to get in conviction. So I'm happy that I'm a part of a successful team, and I play a role in a joint effort. So to me, it's very, very rewarding.
What would you want to say to someone that wants to go in your footsteps and be in the job that you want to be?
I mean, it all comes down to discipline at an early age, where we're all brought up learning and knowing right from wrong, and to maintain those ethics and morals and having that compass, always pointing north, will always set you on the right path. Whether you want to become a police officer or go into any other field, as long as you have those ethics, a hardworking ethic as well, knowing that you're going to be missing time away from home, missing holidays, missing birthday parties, religious, events, stuff like that. You're going to be missing them. So as long as you're okay with that, then you'll have an easier road ahead of you.
Okay, finally, can you give us 3 words to describe yourself? Yeah.
Energetic,
Okay.
compassionate, and fun.
You look like a compassionate guy.
I try. I try.
Okay, thank you
Yep.
for being on the podcast.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.